Tonight we'll go through the innate versus adaptive immune system, and then after that we'll go through the types of cells of immune system, and then after that we'll go through the hypersensitivity reactions, and then we'll finish off with this called transplantation immunology, basically organ transplantation. So we start off. So what is an immune system? Basically, it is a collection of biological processes where an organism to protect itself against pathogens, pathogenic microorganisms, or tumors. So immune system, the immune functionally like an immune system like has responses, and they're divided into two categories that are related to those activities. We have the recognition part and the response part. The recognition part is whereby our immune system is able to recognize a specific foreign molecule that is able to evoke an immune response. So the recognition part entails specificity, which basically means that our immune system is able to differentiate between like our own cells to that of the foreign molecules that are going to be introduced in our system. So what it leads after that recognition leads to an effector response, whereby the immune cells recruit cells that are able to go and attack the foreign substances and can either eliminate it or neutralize the pathogenic substance. So the other thing is, so I've explained recognition that is able to discriminate or differentiate between our foreign own host cells and the foreign part. So, and also response is now how the immune cells is able to react to that foreign substance. So that's why it's divided into two activities: the recognition part and the response part. So now the first time, for the first time that the immune system responds to that foreign pathogenic microorganism, it's now effector response. But now when this pathogenic microorganism occurs for the second time, or like any other time, it elicits a response that it's called memory response. So this memory response occurs as a result of the second, like a second time, or like a repeated exposure of the same foreign organism, which will lead to like which will lead to the immune system being evoked and will lead to a response. So memory response occurs after a later on exposure of the same pathogenic microorganism which is foreign to the immune system. So effector is for the first time, then memory response is a result of the second time. So after that, we'll go straight to the classification of innate and adaptive. So this is basically the history. This is chapter 1. I assume, yeah. So we start from here. So we've seen that immunity is derived from the word immune system. So it's basically a state of protection from infectious diseases. So it has been categorized into two. We have the innate immunity and the adaptive immunity. So for the innate immunity, is one that is less specific compared to the adaptive immunity. So the innate immunity provides the first line of defense against most of the infections. And we'll see it later. It has like different components that build the innate immunity. So innate immunity is one that we are born with. We don't acquire it. So it's one that naturally that we are born with. And then the other aspect is that the other aspect now is for adaptive immunity is the one that now we have acquired, and it is more specific compared to the innate immunity. So innate immunity is the one that we are born with, less specific, and then it is the first line of defense against any infection. And then for the adaptive immunity, you see that is more specific. It's acquired, and also for the when you put a time response, adaptive immunity is a bit it's a bit slow, like it goes after several days of an infection compared to the innate. Innate is a bit immediate. So we can go into, and then for adaptive, as I've said, innate is for, it provides first line defense, and for adaptive, it prevents a third line defense. But we'll see deeper into it when we delve into it much. Yeah. So I'll also be going to Dr. Gontia's notes because they are quite specific to about they're detailed and they're direct to the point. So as I've said, for the innate system responds quickly within minutes to hours, and then the innate system is one that one is born with. And then, like as I've said, it's the first line of defense. But when you go for further classification, you see that it has the first line and second line. And then that, as I said, also adaptive immunity is one that has the third line defense. So we go to the innate immunity. Innate immunity has 4 types of defensive barriers. We have the anatomic, physiologic, phagocytic, and inflammatory. So I'll go and share this table because it will give a summary for everything. So the 4 non-specific host defense mechanisms, as stated, we have the first one is anatomic, which involves the skin and the mucous membrane. So the skin acts as a mechanical barrier, which will protect the inner layers of the skin from entry of microbes. And you've seen that an acidic environment will retard growth of microbes. So the pH between 3 to 5. And anatomic barriers also, we have the mucous membrane, which acts as attachment sites for these both normal flora and microbes. So when the percentage microbes outweighs the normal flora, obviously to lead to an infection. So basically, this just the balance between normal flora and microbes is what will lead to an infection. When the number of microbes supersedes the normal flora, will lead to infection. So we also have the physiological barriers, which include temperature, low pH, and chemical mediators. So for those are quite straightforward. As we've seen that normal body temperature usually inhibits growth for some pathogens, but some pathogens we've seen that they thrive in high temperatures. So yeah. And then another barrier, we have the phagocytic or endocytic barrier. So this involves the phagocytes, which we'll see later on that there's a process specifically for phagocytosis, which will lead to elimination of bacteria. And then the other defense mechanism that is associated with the innate is the inflammatory barriers. So when there's a tissue damage, will lead to an entry of bacteria, which will lead to infections. So we'll also see some aspects of inflammatory barriers. So we have said that Innate immunity comprises of 4 types of defense mechanism barriers, which is anatomic, physiologic, phagocytic, and inflammatory. So also refer to Dr. Gontier's notes. So for him, he classified under, he has 3, which is first line, he has physical and chemical barriers. And then the second line for himself is what he has is biological barriers, which is not far from what we have done. So for him, it's anatomical, physiological, that first line. And then he's gone ahead to classify further for biological barriers. Here we don't have biological barriers, but yeah, we'll say that. So what we'll say that anatomical and physiological first line of defense. And then the second line, he classified as biological barriers. So we have the lactobacillus in the vagina that prevents colonization of other bacteria. So yeah, so that is for the innate. Then we'll go for the adaptive, which is acquired. We saw, let me take you back slowly. So that one of the defense barriers for the innate is phagocytic. So we'll go through the steps of phagocytosis, at least to appreciate these steps. So we have here, we have the macrophage, and then we have a bacteria. So the first step is that the bacteria will get attached to the membrane invaginations, which are called pseudopodia. So invaginations are these gorges, like troughs. So once it get attached to this invagination, the bacteria will get into the macrophage, and then we have a phagosome in the macrophage. It will be ingested. No, it will be ingested to form a phagosome, and then this phagosome will fuse with lysosomes. This one here, I don't know if you can see my pointer, lysosomes, and then when they fuse with phagosome, the phagosome fuses with a lysosome. The lysosome has enzymes, lytic enzymes, which will digest the bacteria, and then it will be the digestion products will be released from the cell. So those are the 5 steps. We have a bacteria that is attached to the membrane. The membrane is ingested, which forms a phagosome. The phagosome fuses with a lysosome to form this complex. And then the lysosome has enzymes which then breaks down the bacteria, and then the products are released from the cell. So basically, those are the steps of phagocytosis. And then for also we will appreciate the inflammatory parts. Usually these 4 cardinal signs of inflammation are very important. So they are here. I highlight them. So the 4 cardinal signs of inflammation, we have redness here, and then we have swelling, we have heat and pain. But also these words can be interchanged, especially this color and this, they usually interchange. So for heat, it's color, and then we have, so I've said it's redness, swelling, heat or color, then pain. So at least we should also appreciate those 4 cardinal signs of inflammation. And then we have like we have these 3 inflammatory response as a result of the inflammation. So the cardinal signs of inflammation reflect the 3 major events of an inflammatory response. So inflammatory response is as a result of tissue damage that is either caused by a scrapping of the skin, and the skin acts as a protective barrier. So once the tissue has been damaged, it leads pathogens invading the inner layers of the skin, which will lead to the immune reacting, leading to a sequence of events which will be known as inflammatory response. So inflammatory response as a result of a tissue damage. So there are three major events that usually occur. One is vasodilation. Vasodilation is basically the diameter of the blood vessels usually increase, and then as a result of that, the nearby capillaries that are surrounded by those blood vessels usually constrict. So which will lead to swelling of the capillary network. And then once these capillary networks, the swollen capillary vessels are swollen, will lead to this erythema, which is basically redness that I've seen that is one of the cardinal signs of inflammation. So vasodilation, the blood vessels increases in diameter, and then the capillaries that near that blood vessels become they swell, and then as a result of swelling, it leads to tissue redness, which will raise the blood temperature. And we also see that heat is a second sign of cardinal sign of inflammation. Then after vasodilation, you'll go to an increase in capillary permeability. So this will lead to accumulation of fluid and cells in the already swollen capillaries. And that the fluid that accumulates will lead to tissue swelling, which is edema. Now that's also another sign of cardinal sign of inflammation. Then after that, now there'll be accumulation of phagocytes from the capillaries, which will lead now to those 5 steps that I've talked about there above. So as a result of phagocytosis will lead to a lot formation of dead cells. And these dead cells, most of the time, is what will form the pus. So for a recap, we said that is vasodilation, and then an increase in capillary permeability, and then accumulation of or influx of phagocytes from the capillaries into the tissues. So this will lead to the process of phagocytosis, and then after phagocytosis, the remnant cell will be the one that will form fluid that will lead to pus formation. Yeah. So we go to adaptive immunity. Adaptive immunity, basically, it's not that does not have much content compared to what we have done for innate. So for adaptive immunity, we appreciate the fact that it is very specific, unlike innate immunity. So, and also this one is also referred as required, not required, acquired immunity. So it has 4 characteristics. We have antigenic specificity that I've talked about. It is diverse. It has immunological memory, and also self-own and self-recognition. So for the specificity, the immune system is able to distinguish between, distinguish between 2 proteins molecules that differ in a single. That's so basic. So it's able to distinguish different the difference between our host cells and the host cells and the foreign. So basically that it's able to distinguish different antigens. So for diversity, it's able to recognize many molecules, many different molecules. And then for memory, is able to to remember past immunological responses. So for non-self recognition, it's able to distinguish itself. It's able to distinguish the host from non-host, like the host cells from non-host cells. So the adaptive immunity comprises of the B lymphocytes and the T lymphocytes, but we'll be able to talk about them when we're talking about the types of cells. So let's see what Gonke talked about. Adaptive immunity. Yeah, so it's just the system that develops often after one is born. So it has the comprises of T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes, and you should appreciate that it is the third line of defense. We said that the first line of defense is the innate immunity, that the physical barriers and the chemical barriers, and then second line is the biological. So let's see what's we'll talk maybe much later of MHC, but it was not part of the guidelines. So I don't know if we'll get to, but if you have time, we'll go through MHC. So maybe I'll introduce about, so when the immune system becomes dysfunctional, it leads to several manifestations that we show that the immune system is not in order. So some of them is allergy and asthma, which we'll talk about the hypersensitivity reactions. Graft rejection, we'll talk about in the transplantation immunology. And then we'll also see the aspect of autoimmune disease and immunodeficiency. So these four things, once they occur, then you'll know that there's a problem somewhere with the immune system. I think that would be the first part of the innate versus adaptive. So as a recap, we've said that innate, one is born with it, innate, and is less specific. And yeah, it's less specific and the first line of defense. And we said that it had like four defense barriers, which included anatomical, physiological, inflammatory, and phagocytic. And it said that, yeah, and then we talked about the process of phagocytosis, and then the four cardinal signs of inflammation, and then like the major events that occur after inflammation. And then now we've just talked about briefly adaptive immune system, that we say that this one is more specific. It is more specific and it is acquired, and majorly involves the lymphoid, which is the T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes, which we are going to talk about in a few. So basically that's innate and adaptive. So Gontia gave some differences. So for adaptive immunity, it says that it has ability to recognize microbes. It is specific. It has specific immune response to microbe. So it gives that ability of specificity. And then it has ability to remember past exposure to microbe, which is memory. And then has more than one way to attack a microbe, which we've said it's diversity. And then specialization has a specific response to a specific microbe, which is basically specificity. So for the inborn, which is innate, it is not specific, and it does not have memory. Yeah. So any questions or any additions that maybe one of you would like to
Stanley.
add or ask?
Oh, I was wondering, you said there's something I didn't get. You said the adaptive is the third line of defense. You said the first one is the innate barriers. Uh, this the
Yeah,
second one.
now sorry. Yeah, so innate has two, like so we have three different line of defense. We have first line, second line, and third line. So first line is the one that you come into contact with. So now we have the skin, we have the hair. So you need to get first through the first line of defense before you get to the second line. You get like first line hiyo ya kwanza kabisa ndio upate hiyo ingine. And then for the third line, it involves now the antibodies. Now first line, second line, like the pathogen has been able to pass through both the first line, like ikapita second line, but now it won't escape the third line, because now we have the antibodies and the that will be that will detect. We have a foreign substance which is now will act as an antigen, so hiyo ndo will capture it. So the adaptive immunity is the one that will get to that, will pick it up now.
So like the first one now, you're saying like the skin, alafu the second is like mucus, ama?
No, first line iko na bado mucus and physical, like unaona hapa kwa hii first line defense ni physical na chemical barriers. Then iko na skin, saliva, mucus, and then now the second line of defense ndio iko sa biological, let's say like this now.
Kama zile flora hizo.
Yeah.
Sawa, asante.
Karibu. So anyone else? So we'll go to chapter 2. Which is basically the cells. We just deal with the cells of the immune system. Sorry. We'll first deal with hematopoiesis, just to get a background info about where these cells come from. So hematopoiesis is basically the formation of the formation and development of both the red and white blood cells. And hematopoiesis basically deals with all the cells that I've said, red and white. But now these red and white blood cells originate from one. They have one origin, which is called the hematopoietic stem cell. Yeah. So hematopoietic basically means blood, and then stem cells. These are cells that they can differentiate into any other cell types. Like it does not have any specific thing that will lead to the growth. So stem cell will develop into any other cell. So say it starts as stem cell that will go to white blood cells, or stem cell B will go to blood cells. So stem cell will develop into any other cell. So as I've seen, their property, they are self-renewing, and also by that they maintain a population level of cell division. So I'll share an image. So stem cells, I've not said one of their properties that they are pluripotent or multipotent, which means that they can differentiate into any other types of cells. So it's here. Hematopoietic stem cell is either multipotent or pluripotent. So they're able to differentiate in various way and thereby generate the different types of cells. So you have seen that this is the origin that can either lead to a common myeloid progenitor or the lymphoid. So you either go to myeloid or the lymphoid. So we'll start with the lymphoid. So the lymphoid, we have the natural killer cells, and then we have the small lymphocyte, which will basically lead to T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes, and then B lymphocytes after several differentiation will lead to plasma cell, lead to development of plasma cells. So the lymphoid progenitor will have the natural killer cell, the T lymphocytes, B lymphocytes, which will lead to plasma cells. And then the myeloid, the one that has erythrocytes, mast cells, and myeloblasts. And this myeloblast is the one that has now neutrophil, eosinophil, basophil, and then the monocyte that has macrophage. And also we appreciate the megakaryocyte, which is thrombocyte. So I'll give you like 1 minute to internalize this image. Okay. So we'll go to, we have appreciated the hematopoiesis part and the image that shows the different branches of the hematopoietic stem cell, the myeloid and the lymphoid. The lymphoid will give the natural killer cells and the T and the B lymphocytes, and then the myeloid will give rise to all these. So I've appreciated that. Let me go and see what yeah, we'll come this as a recap later on. So this is just the diagram, but so this one, as you have seen from the lymphoid, we have the natural killer cells, the T and the B, but for the T now they have two different ones. We have the T helper and the T cytotoxic cell, but we'll talk about it. And then maybe as add-on, this molecule is one that is used it's in the kidney, that is used to regulate production of red blood cells in the kidney, erythropoietin, EPO. Also, we can talk about the apoptosis. Apoptosis is basically programmed cell death. The cells usually, they have a lifespan. So after they're done with that lifespan, they just undergo death, programmed cell death. So apoptosis is basically programmed cell death that often seen in the cells. And then also have another thing for necrosis. So the difference between necrosis and apoptosis, necrosis is death of tissues or cells that is associated with cell injury. So for apoptosis is basically the program after 20 days of of certain cells, they die. But for necrosis after an injury. So after the injury has occurred, the cell dies. So we'll start off with the lymphoid cells. Here, let me go back to this. So we start from this side, the lymphoid cells. So it's in the B, T, natural killer cells. So lymphoid cells basically, they are cells that are subdivided into three categories. We have the natural killer cells, we have the B lymphocytes, and the T lymphocytes. So lymphocyte is a collection of three different categories of cells. So the B lymphocytes, T lymphocytes, and the natural killer cells. So when we go to the B, lymphocytes. So the B lymphocytes, they mature in the bone marrow, and then after several differentiation series, they form plasma cells, which later on secrete antibodies. So B lymphocytes, they mature in the bone marrow. And then after a series of differentiation, they form plasma cells, which leads to secretion of antibodies. So this is much deep knowledge for it's beyond our scope. But yeah, what I've said is that yeah. So for Gontia, it says B lymphocytes are responsible for production of immunoglobulins, often referred as humoral response. Humoral response is basically response as result of production of antibodies. Yes, so these types of cells, we don't delve much into details. So what you're supposed to know is that B lymphocytes, they mature in the bone marrow, that they differentiate into plasma cells, which later on secrete the antibodies. And then, yeah, so yeah, I think that's it. There's no much things to talk about this. This is so deep for a scope. So we'll go to T lymphocytes. T lymphocytes also, they originate from the marrow, but the maturation site is the thymus. They also have like membrane receptors for antigen where they bind to elicit an immune response. The T lymphocytes also, they help B cells to produce antibodies. So T lymphocytes, they have different categories. We have the T helper cells. We have the cytotoxic T cells we have here. And yeah, and suppressor. But though the T suppressor, it does not have clear or distinct function. So we have the TH1, TH2, and TH3. So we have, as I said, we have T helper and T cytotoxic cell. So for the T helper, we have three categories: TH1, TH2, and TH3, which was talked by Dr. Gontia. So for TH1 and TH2, they assist in inflammatory reactions. And then for TH3, it's used for regulatory of immune cells. So it is T regulatory. So whenever you ask the subset of T helper cells, which one that is T regulatory cells, it's TH3. And then TC, which is T cytotoxic, is cytotoxic to other cells. So it basically kills the other cells. And then also have another category that has been added. We have the TM, which is T memory. And then this one remembers past infections. So we have talked about T lymphocytes. They say that development is in the bone marrow, but maturation is in the thymus. And then we have seen the different categories of the T lymphocytes. We have the T helper, T cytotoxic, and the T suppressor. For the T helper, we have another subcategories, which is TH1, TH2 that are used in the inflammatory responses, and then TH3, which is T regulatory cell, and then T cytotoxic, which is cytotoxic to other cells. And then we have TM, which is used to remember past infections. So we'll go to natural killer cell, which is another category of that. The lymphoid cells. So their natural killer cells are large granular cells. Basically, they are large granular lymphocytes which are used to kill tumor cells and virus-infected targets. So they do not have membrane receptors for antigen, but unlike the T and the B, the one that they have membrane receptors for antigen. For these, the natural killer cells, they don't have receptor antigen, but they have natural killer cells receptors. So they usually are there to the infected target cells, and then they induce death, usually by apoptotic signals, which we talked is programmed cell death. And then also it forms perforins, which leads to leakage of the contents of that pathogen. So natural killer cells, we've talked, they are large granular lymphocytes, which are used to kill tumor cells and virus-infected cells. And then they do not have receptor membranes for antigen, but they have natural killer cells receptors. And then they usually are there to the infected target cells, and then they induce cell death via apoptosis. And then also we have also the aspect of perforins, which is spore forming. Conte did not talk about the natural killer cells. So we'll go to the next part of the immune cells. We'll take a 5-minute break, then we'll come back with the mononuclear phagocytes. Yes, unacheza na notation. So as a recap before we went for the break, we said that all cells that have one common origin, which is the hematopoietic stem cell, and then they have different branches from the hematopoietic stem cell. We said that it can either go to the myeloid progenitor or the lymphoid progenitor. And for the lymphoid progenitor, we've talked about the natural killer cell, the small lymphocyte, which has the T and B lymphocytes. And then you have talked about the T and B lymphocytes, and the natural killer cells are cells of the immune system. So I've talked about those three. Now we'll go to the mononuclear phagocytes, which basically they have two cells, the monocytes and the macrophages, of which we have already talked about macrophages. So the monocytes, they circulate in the blood, and then the macrophages, they usually are present in the tissue. So we appreciate that monocytes are usually in circulation, and then macrophages are usually in the tissues. So monocytes and macrophages are both involved in phagocytosis, or like another word is intracellular killing of microorganisms. So they kill the organisms intracellularly. I think we have gone through those 5 steps of phagocytosis. So we can appreciate also these four types of cells. They're saying that they are macrophage-like cells, serve different functions in different tissues, are named according to their tissue location. So we have, but these are straightforward. For alveoli, we know that is always obviously in the lung. And then for maybe these new histiocytes is in the connective tissues, Kupffer cells in the liver, and then mesangial cells in the kidney. Maybe these will come in anatomy, you never know. So go phagocytosis, we have already done that. Yes, monocytes and yeah, I just talk a few things about monocytes. Gontia did not talk about. So monocytes, as we have seen that and macrophages are used in phagocytosis. And they circulate in the blood cells. Let me see if there's a structure of a monocyte. Oh yeah, so we can appreciate maybe, but I don't think this will come. We have the structure of a monocyte, and the macrophage. So basically that's all for monocytes. We have seen it's involved in phagocytosis, and it's in blood circulation. And then you have the different sites of the monocytes. But if you have anything to add on monocyte, you can always chip in. So, and then for the macrophage, we've seen that it usually it's usually in the tissues, and they have a high phagocytic activities. and then we appreciate the structure over there. And then the macrophages has different functions. As you've seen that one of them is phagocytosis. It can also be used, it's also used in wound healing, muscle regeneration, and it's part of the adaptive immunity. We have gone through phagocytosis. So as a recap, again, we've talked about the natural killer cells, T, B lymphocytes, and then I've talked about macrophage and monocytes as cells of the immune system. So now we want to go to the granulocytic cells or granulocytes, which basically is the neutrophil, eosinophil, and the basophil. So these are granulated. So we have neutrophil, eosinophil, and basophil. So the reason why they're called granulocytic cells is because they have granules in the cytoplasm. I don't know if you'll be able to. Yeah, those small dots, those are the granules inside these, the neutrophil, eosinophil, and the basophil. So yeah, so the reason why they're called granulocytic is because they have granules in them. And the granulocytes are also called the PMN, which is basically polymorphonuclear leukocytes. And they are produced in the bone marrow, obviously. So they have three categories. You have the neutrophil, the eosinophil, and the basophil. So for the neutrophil, they constitute about 40, 50 to 70% of the total white blood cells. And then they are multilobed. They have a multilobed nucleus. So then you see here, they're multilobed. So this can also be an MCQ. So neutrophils, you have to know that they're multilobed. And then they stain both acidic and basic dyes. Yeah. So we've talked about that, neutrophil. So anything else that I can add? Yeah. So we'll go to eosinophil. So neutrophil, we said that is multilobed, it is granulated. It consists about 50 to 70% of the white blood cells, and also it dyes both the acidic and the basic dyes. So for the eosinophil, they are bilobed nucleus and they are granulated, and they stain with acid only. So in comparison of the neutrophil, the eosinophil, they only stain the dye, the acidic dyes. So eosinophils also appreciate that they are phagocytic in nature, and eosinophil will appreciate much later. They are used in type 2 hypersensitivity reaction, which is antibody mediated cytotoxic hypersensitivity. So eosinophil plays a major role in the type 2 hypersensitivity reactions. So for basophils, they are single-lobed and they are very granulated. They stain the basic dye methylene blue. So these are unique features. So for basophil is the stain basic dye, and the eosinophil is acidic, and then for neutrophil is both. So basophils also the let's see what. So the G stands for granulated. So basophils, they're involved in allergic reactions also, in mild parasitic infections. For eosinophils, we have talked about is they involve in allergic reactions and immunity to parasites. And then, yeah, neutrophils, phagocytosis. Yeah, so basically that's it for the granulocytic cells. So another type of immune cell. Remember we started with the lymphoid cells, natural killer cells, B cells, T cells, and then we have gone to mononuclear phagocytes, which we did monocytes and macrophages. And then we've just finished granulocytic cells, which included the neutrophils, eosinophils, and the basophils. Now we are in mast cells, and then we'll go to dendritic cells. So so mast cells, together with the basophils, when combined, they play a major role in development of allergic responses. That's one of the major things that you need to know about mast cells. So mast cells with basophils, they play a major role in allergic responses. Yeah, so that's for mast cells. And then for dendritic cells, dendritic cells also have to, it's an APC, which basically is an antigen presenting cell. So dendritic cells, they have different, I don't know if it has been talked here. They have 4 different types. We have the Langhans, we have the interstitial, myeloid, and the lymphoid dendritic cells. So we have 4 categories of dendritic cells. So we have the Langhans, interstitial dendritic cell, we have the myeloid dendritic cell, and the lymphoid dendritic cells. Yeah, so with that, I think there's no further information about the cells. So these are the cells that I was talking about, the dendritic cells that we have. So we have Langhans, interstitial, myeloid, and the lymphoid. So as a recap, once again, the immune cells, we've talked about the lymphoid cells, the B cells, T cells, and then you appreciate the different types of T cells. We have the T helper, which has 3 subcategories: T helper 1, T helper 2, and T helper 3. T helper 1 and T helper 2, they are used in inflammation responses, and then Th3 is T regulatory. It's T regulatory for Th3. And then we have gone to, we have also another type with T memory, which remembers past infections. And then we have T suppressor, which does not have much of a function. And then we have also T cytotoxic, which basically kills cells. So we have appreciated that. And then we have also natural killer cells. We have gone to another category that we did, mononuclear phagocytes, which has monocytes and macrophages. And then we've done granulocytic cells, which included the neutrophils, eosinophils, and the basophils. For neutrophils, we said that they send both the acidic and the basic dyes. Eosinophils, we said it's acidic, and then basophils, we said it's basic. And then you have done mast cells, which we said that in conjunction with the basophils, they play an important role in the development of allergies. And then we have done dendritic cells, which we have said that is an APC. It's an antigen presenting cell, and it has 4 different types also. We have the Langhans, interstitial, myeloid, and the lymphoid dendritic cells. So that's as a recap of the types of immune cells. So I think before we go to the type 2, and not type 2, the hypersensitivity reactions, which is a bit not, it's a bit short. I think we should go through the different types of immunoglobulins. I've seen that it was not part of the guideline, but it's important that at least we go through them. We have the basics, and Gontia did a very good summary of the antibodies, but let's go to this. And they constitute actually most of the MCQs in this immunology. So the ones for antibodies and immunoglobulins, the one that has most of the MCQs. So we'll just go through the basics. So we can see, can appreciate first the structure. Just basic structures. We've seen that we have there are two different, let's say just three main difference. The different part, we have the Fab. The Fab portion is where the antigen binds to it, and then we have the FC portion, and then we have the heavy chain here, and then the light chain. So this just basically a diagram that will have just at the back of your mind, at least, so you just know where the Fab portion is, the FC, the heavy chain, and the light chain. So we have different classes of these immunoglobulins. We have IgG, and each class of immunoglobulins, they have different properties. And we start with, let me go first to go into the notes. So as an introduction, the antibodies are secreted immunoglobulins produced by the B cells or the B lymphocytes. They are usually glycoproteins, and they're Y-shaped, and I've appreciated that it has the Fab portion. We have the FC from here to here. We have the light chain and the heavy chain here. Fab, where the antigen binds. It can be an MCQ also. Where does the antigen binds? It binds at the Fab portion. We have the FC portion. FC portion runs from here to here, and then we have the light chain, which is the red part, and then the heavy chain is the blue part. So we have different classes of the immunoglobulins. So we start with, so these are Faith notes. So we acknowledge that Faith did a wonderful job. Faith, thank you so much for providing these notes. So IgG, we start with IgG. So there are 5 classes: IgG, IgM, A, D, and E. So for IgG, the most prominent feature is that it can cross the placental barrier. It's the one that constitutes at least the highest percentage in the serum, which is 70%. It's also referred to as the memory immunoglobulin, and is responsible for immunity to bacteria. It acts both as opsonin. I think I've seen in one of the MCQs, it acts both as an opsonin and antitoxin. So IgG is the one that acts as both as an opsonin and antitoxin. Opsonin, what does it mean? It helps in phagocytosis, and the antitoxin is antitoxin to the bacteria. So we have appreciated those facts. So it crosses the placental barrier. It consists about 70% of the concentration in serum. The half-life is about 21 days. It is found as the memory immunoglobulins and responsible for immunity to bacteria. So IgM is a pentamer. This one is one of the unique feature of IgM. It's a pentamer, and maybe the way you can remember it's a pentamer, you see an M. An M has 5 points. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can remember IgM as a pentamer because it has like 5 points for you to write an M. So you can remember that this is one of the unique features of this IgM. So it's a pentamer. The half-life is about 10 days, and it is used in the ABO blood grouping. And this is the immunoglobulin that is found in fetuses at birth. And also this one is the first immunoglobulin, the first to be produced, in immune responses. And IgM is an excellent activator for complement system. This one is in one of the MCQs also. IgM is an excellent activator for the complement system. So yeah, let me see what the book says also. IgG. Yeah, can cross the placenta. We've talked about that. IgM, we have talked, it's a pentamer, we have seen here.
Hey, Stano, question.
Hey.
So IgG is the only one that crosses the placenta. The other ones cannot.
I think so. I think the book talks about it here.
Okay, it's because I saw a question which antibody is implicated in hemolytic disease of the newborn. So it should be IgG.
Yeah,
Yes,
IgG.
IgG is the only one that crosses.
Yeah, it's the only one that crosses the
Thank you.
So you have appreciated that also. IgM. We were here also. IgM is the first one, the first immunoglobulin class to be produced in a primary response to an antigen. It's also the first immunoglobulin to be synthesized by an unit. So we have not talked this. So it's first to be produced in case of a primary response to an antigen. Also, it's the first one to be synthesized by an unit. So IgM, we have appreciated that. So don't forget about the pentamer, and also the ABO. Also, it's an important thing, and the first to be produced in immune response, and also an excellent activator. Actually, I've seen this question, I think, twice in the paper, different papers. So it's an activate complement. It's an excellent activator for the complement system. IgA, it's predominant immunoglobulin in external secretions such as breast, milk, saliva, mucus, and in the digestive tract. So let's appreciate that IgA. So you might be asked a question like, what kind of immunoglobulin is found in maybe saliva, tears? So it's IgA. So IgA is the one that is used in, not used, it's found in secretions, and also responsible for mucosal immunity. IgD, the function is not well recognized, but Gontia said it's used in class switching. So let's see what talks about IgD. Also in the book, I think it was the last one here. Yeah. IgD, there's no much to be talked about. Yeah, so we have seen this statement. The last statement is that no biological effector function has been identified for IgD. So other than for class switching, there's no any other function. So IgE, a question?
Oh, not a
Sir.
question. Just
Eh.
an addition on IgD is
Mm.
that I know we've not looked at the structure of a B lymphocyte, but the receptor of a B lymphocyte is also an antibody, and IgD is the one that acts as a receptor in the B lymphocyte. I think if you can just see an image, it can help. Nini, it can of a B lymphocyte. This one works. Just so you can see just a bit up so that we can see that first step. Yeah, you can see the B cell. What recognizes the antigen is still an antibody. Yeah, so IgD is a receptor in the B cell. It's there IgD and IgM. Yeah. So that's another role of IgD. It functions as a receptor on the B cell.
The B cell.
Yeah.
Nice thing.
Stano, I'd also seen I think EB cell, most times it has IgM, and then due to the B cell stimulates like class switching. So from that IgM, then like that antibody will switch from IgM to either A, D, I think, or G.
Oh. Okay. Thank you for those additions. I think we remained with IgE, which is basically that's the most known immunoglobulin because it's found in the allergic reactions, like we have talked about asthma and all that. So for IgE, so it's saying that when it's in high levels, it's either due to allergy or parasitic diseases. And IgE is the one that has the lowest concentration in serum. And the half-life is about 2.5 days. So this is a repetition that there's an allergic reaction. So we've seen here IgE antibodies mediate the immediate hypersensitivity reactions that are responsible for symptoms such as the asthma, hives, and anaphylactic reactions. So yeah, so that's basically for IgE, unless if someone has anything to add on it. Yeah, so you can go through also these immunoglobulins later on, pole to get some of those fine details because they are important. These immunoglobulins, they account for actually most of the questions in the immunology part, and they're not highlighted as one of the guideline for reading for immunology. So we can go back to hypersensitivity reactions. That should be chapter 16. No. 16. There's a nice diagram that we'll use this diagram to hope it's visible. Yeah, we'll take a breather like for 5 minutes, and then we come to this. I think we'll resume. So we'll talk about this was in 2019. We'll talk about the hypersensitivity reactions. So there are basically 4 major categories, and then let me share first so that we have a way to remember these hypersensitivity reactions. There are 4 types. So this is type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. So just you just write the word acid. So type 1A stands for allergic, type 2C cytotoxic, type 3I for immunocomplex, type 4D for delayed. So you can use this to memorize and also to remember the 4 types of hypersensitivity reactions. And then it is important to know that at least the examples, because in the board exams, I've seen they ask, they give, for example, Myasthenia gravis, it's under which classification of hypersensitivity reactions. So at least you know at least a few examples for each. Yeah. And then the other aspect, you know, that is if it is IgE mediated, or Ig. So for type 1, it's IgE mediated. For type 2, it's cytotoxic or antibody mediated, which is IgG and IgM. For type 3, we have immune complex, which is IgG mediated, and then for type 4, it's delayed. So I'll give you like 1.5 minutes. You at least look at this, and then we go into details for each type. So this will just give you a rough idea of what you'll be doing. It's not complicated though. Okay. So good. We'll come at this summary. Guys, do you have any question? Una type ama unajisikia kupitisha watu hii?
Hapana, endelea.
Sawa. But I'm sure you are well versed in this. So type 1, the example that we usually give, it's for asthma. Type 1 is IgE mediated. So basically the one in the book is one that the one that Gonti explained. It's much better compared to this. But so for this, we are saying that the antigen induces a cross-linking to the IgE bound to the muscles, and then the basophil release vasoactive mediators such as histamine and all that. So let's look at the one that Gontia said. So hypersensitivity reaction, basically, this is an exaggerated immune response to otherwise a harmless antigen. So we have inhalants such as pollen, ingestants that you take, and also we have contractants, but I don't know an example of a contractant. So if one of you has, you might share. So for type 1, he says that we have immediate hypersensitivity reactions. We have the primary and the secondary exposure. So for the primary exposure, he gives an example of the asthma. So you have an antigen, you inhale it, it goes way inside to the bronchial tree, and then after that you have an APC, which picks up and then picks it up and then takes it to then the Th2 cells. They secrete cytokines such as interleukin 2 that are used for recruitment differentiation and proliferation of the B cells and other lymphocytes. Also have other interleukins that are produced, such as interleukin 4, 5, and 3. So the Th2 that has been sensitized, it goes to circulation in the lymphoid tissue with a view of finding a B cell, which will produce an immunoglobulin, which will bind to the offending antigen, which is the inhaled one. So the B cells presents the specific antigen to the Th2, and then after that, the B cells gets activated, and then the immunoglobulins undergoes mass production of the B cells, of which the B cell itself undergoes proliferation to produce plasma cells. So there's a class switch from IgG to IgE. So the one that we have seen, IgE, is once it's secreted in circulation, it binds to the muscles, and then the muscles and the basophils, so they bind to the muscles and the basophils in the mucosa of the respiratory tract. But basically, all these processes basically leads to the production of vasoactive mediators such as histamine and all that, which is one that will lead to the vasoconstriction and all those symptoms of asthma. So as a summary, in this statement, we have the antigen, which will induce cross-linking with the IgE to the muscles and the basophils, as we have seen in the last statement, which will release the vasoactive mediators that will lead to the formation of the formation of the symptoms of the asthma. So yeah, that's a recap basically. So you just have to know it's IgE mediated. The antigen is one that binds to IgE. After the cross-linking, they go to the muscles and the basophils, which they release the vasoactive mediators. So that's the primary exposure. The second exposure, now we have a memory. We have like now once we have a memory of what happened in the first time. So for the second time, you inhale the offending agents once again. Then it goes through all those mucosas, and then it binds to the far portion of the immunoglobulin. So penye tulikuwa tumesema, the antigen binds to the far portion here. And then after that, after binds to the immunoglobulin of the basophils and the muscles, no, this is so complicated. So after the process of degranulation, Gauss.
Yeah.
Guys,
Yeah.
like the second part imeni confused. Unaweza explain hiyo yenye ina undergo degranulation then ina release hizo vitu za inflammation, hizo mediators.
Okay. So for as Tano said, there is a primary exposure and there is a secondary exposure. So in the primary exposure, remember, when we say primary, mostly it means the first time. So let's say patient X is allergic to pollen, right? Patient X is allergic to pollen, but they don't know and they've never been exposed to pollen, right? So their body does not know what pollen is. So the first time this patient will inhale pollen, it will go to the lungs. And that pollen will be degraded and it will be identified as an antigen, right? It will be identified as an antigen, and the antibodies against that antigen will be formed. Now, in the case of an allergic reaction, it will be IgEs. It will be IgEs. Then, as Stanley said, there are two parts of an antibodies. There is the FAB portion and the FC portion. So the FC portion, it binds to the, the FC portion, it binds to an immune cell. So in our case, in the case of an allergic reaction, this FC portion will bind to, it will bind to mast cell, to a mast cell. So that's the primary response. So in short, in the primary response, we won't see this manifestation of an allergic reaction. This patient won't start at having difficulty breathing and all that. But now, in the secondary response, we can go to the immunology, KUBI. Now, there was an image. Yeah, now in the secondary, nice. So in the primary, let me just highlight. In the primary response, what happened was just up to here. This is what happened. There was no antigen. These IgEs, they went and binded to a mast cell, and now they waited for that antigen to come again, for that pollen to come again. Now, the second time this person will inhale pollen, now the process will be immediate. Why will it be immediate? Because already IgEs were produced in the primary response, and those IgEs are already bounded to the mast cell. So they are just waiting literally for that antigen to enter into our body again. So once it enters, it activates that IgE and it releases histamine. Hence the reaction is immediate. So in the primary response, it's just your body learning and producing IgEs. In the secondary, the body is now ready to react to that antigen.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. So, so for type 1, sorry. Sir, Pole.
So you said about basophils usually being elevated in most of allergic conditions. Yeah. So if we were to do like a blood smear, and you get a picture of microscopic picture that suggests there's a spike in the basophil. Would you always conclude that that's an allergic reaction, or are there any instances besides allergy that they could be elevated?
Sorry?
Are there other instances besides allergic reaction that you could find the basophils being high?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure of that. Unless yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not sure of that answer. But naweza enda ni research then I answer you. So nasema basophilia, other than allergic reactions, what other reasons could it result in like high levels of basophil, like in EOS, ndio?
I was thinking, Stano, during these eczema allergies, we especially like asthma, we usually expect more eosinophilia because they'll promote unajua hiyo inflammation, which is usually associated with asthma. So I don't necessarily know if eosinophilia zitakuwa present in other conditions, probably other conditions associated with inflammation, but I know like we expect a lot of eosinophilia action present during type 1 hypersensitivity in regards to asthma. That's what I think.
The allergic, yeah. Chai, uko sawa?
Sijajibu swali yake lakini bado uende uangalie.
Tenda niangalie. But hiyo yako si like
Ngumi
tenda niangalie. Sorry? Pole.
Azi alikuwa akiongea chafu, achana naye.
Oh, haya sawa. So type 1 hiyo ndio imeongelelewa. So the manifestations that are for type 1 hypersensitivity reactions include systemic anaphylaxis and localized anaphylaxis such as hay fever, asthma, hives, food allergy and eczema. So hizo ndo basically the conditions that zinapatikananga kwa type 1. So for type 2 it is
Stano.
sorry
Hata just niku interject kiasi because I know we won't see it anywhere else and nimeona ikiulizwa. So just atopy, that term atopy simply refers to watu wako na this predisposition to to have this type 1 reaction. So so iso asthma, the one we're talking about, asthma, allergic rhinitis, eczema, conjunctivitis na food allergy, those are atopic conditions. Those are the 5 atopic conditions or the 5 allergies. So if one has one atopic condition, they are more likely to develop another and another. So in even in history taking, usikie the parent has asthma or the parent is allergic to something, know that the child also has a predisposition kukuwa na another atopic condition, maybe asthma, maybe rhinitis and all this. So just atopy is a predisposition to be getting these type 1 reactions. Yeah.
I have a question, guys, based off of what you've said. Sasa, I'd seen with these allergic conditions, there's most times the hypothesis is usually hygiene. It's called that hygiene hypothesis, which states like if a person hasn't been exposed to iso antigen or let's say infection, whatever it is, they have a higher susceptibility to getting it later, just as you stated. Okay, right. Yeah, so I'm wondering, is that usually accompanied with iso genetic factors, sometimes it's one or the other? Am I making sense? Unanielewa?
Yeah. So for that, I've ever seen the same hypothesis because they notice it's more in the Western countries that they have this atopic condition than in sub-Saharan Africa.
So hadi hata inaweza kuwa maybe both of them
highest,
and then maybe in the West they're more likely to be atopic, and here it's more likely to be due to your hygiene hypothesis or something like that.
Yeah, so the explanation that was put out, or rather the accepted explanation, last I checked, because it's just a hypothesis, is that as Tano said, IgE has a role in fighting off parasites, right? The likes of helminths, roundworms, all of those worms.
Yeah.
And we know in African food yamadhe, right? Those foods ziko contaminated with these things. But now in Western countries, because the food is clean, now their hypothesis or the explanation is their IgE is essentially it has no role, imekosa kazi, so it starts looking for what it can do and it ends up triggering the allergic reaction. So in short, it's the IgE lacking a role because there are no parasites to fight off. So it starts eliciting these allergic reactions. But still just a hypothesis, not that there's any basic need behind it. Yeah.
Thanks.
Aya, so tutaenda kwa type 2 which tumesema ni cytotoxic or stroke antibody mediated. So for this, so it says that there's already preformed antibodies that reacts with preformed antigens. So for example, this to explain this type 2, we have the ABO blood group with the rhesus incompatibility, such as the positive or negative. So we have the antibody reacting with the antigen to form a complex. So the complex that is formed will activate the complement system by the classical pathway. So as a result of this complex, it destroys the RBC, which leads to hemolysis. So for type 2, majorly it's the ni yenye inapatikana kwa ABO blood group. So in the book says that the antibody is directed against the cell surface antigen, which mediates cell destruction via the complement activation. So basically, the antibody reacts with the antigen, the preformed antibodies react with the preformed antigens, which leads to formation of a complex. The complex then activates the complement system, and then which leads to cell destruction. So the typical manifestations include the blood transfusion reactions, such as now when be positive, then umepatiwa blood transfusion ya another like blood group, which sasa hiyo ndio lead to transfusion reactions. Then erythroblastosis fetalis, these are it's a fatal reaction that mostly inakwanga kwa young ones yenye they die out of this. And then we have autoimmune hemolytic anemia. But also in this type 2 hypersensitivity reaction, there's one that is usually drug-induced hemolytic anemia that you get. Patients are large. They have like they react to antibiotics such as penicillins, cephalosporins, and streptomycins. So what happens is that they bind to the drugs. Now they bind to RBC, which forms a complex, and then your complex inactivate complement system that inaonyesha kuna kitu like there's somewhere that's not going on well, so it leads to the lysis of RBCs. So when the red blood cells are distracted, lead to now the hemolytic anemia, which is drug-induced hemolytic anemia. So hizo antibiotics, penicillin, cephalosporin, and streptomycin, most of the time, but not to all patients, of course, may lead to the formation of this complex. In this case, the drug inaonekana kama antigen, so in a form like a complex with the antibodies that are produced kwa mwili, and then lead to activation of the complex system, alafu inakuwa destroyed. So but most of the time withdraw the drug, the hemolytic anemia inakuwa resolved. So hiyo ni one of the things that nimeona kwa book pia. Type 3 we have, it's immune complex that is IgG mediated. So let's appreciate also another examples of type 2. Sorry, taking you back. We have, as I've said, autoimmune hemolytic anemia. We have Graves' disease, myasthenia gravis, and immune thrombocytopenia, and Goodpasture syndrome, which sijui ni gani. So type 3, I've said that is immune complex, which is IgG mediated. Let's see what it's talking about. Some takes years to months to develop. So for this one, now there's a formation of the antigen antibody complexes, and then these complexes they get deposited in various tissues, which may lead to activation of the complement system. And then once you activate the complement system, will lead to inflammatory responses that are usually mediated with infiltration of neutrophils. So we have the antigen antibody complexes. They may form, but now once these complexes are formed, they get deposited in tissues. So hizo iko deposited in tissue ina lead to inflammatory responses, ina lead to inflammation of, not inflammation, influx of neutrophils. So some of the examples of type 3, we have glomerulonephritis, rheumatoid arthritis, and SLE. Gonti alipeana example ya the glomerulonephritis. So there's a checker, guys. Yeah, so immune complex deposit in areas such as between the epithelium, endothelium, or the alveoli, and between the blood vessels and basement membrane in the glomerulus. But so these deposition, they don't move any further. Zikisha form hapo zinabaki hapo. Haya, so tume appreciate examples. Let's see examples zingine. So tumepata rheumatoid arthritis, reactive arthritis, serum sickness, SLE na polyarthritis nodosa. Haya, so we'll go to the last one. Type 4. Type 4 most inakuanga ya TB, I think. Yeah. So type 4 is cell mediated. So as a recap, type 1 tulisema ni A for allergic, type 2 C for cytotoxic, type 3 I for immune complex, yenye tumesema hiyo ina form complex that inakuwa deposited in some of the areas such as between the endothelium, hizo basement membrane, and then now in type 4 which is delayed. So we have the sensitized T helper cells, they release cytokines which inactivate macrophages or the cytotoxic T cells that mediate direct cellular damage. So yeah, so we have the T helper cells that they usually release cytokines. So we have the T, so cytokines, and then that activates the macrophage. So this is the activated macrophages. So if you activated, it lead to cellular damage, direct cellular damage. So example tumesema ni TB and graft rejection, which is a good point because tunaenda kwa transplantation immunology. Other examples we've seen DM type 1, we have ABD, Hashimoto's, celiac disease, and chronic transplant rejection. So as a recap, type 1, IG mediated. Tumeona that the antigen in a form cross-linking with the IgA yenye iko bound to muscles. Alafu venye Gasam explain, the second time ndo zina release these mediators ndo unapata hizo symptoms such as the asthma. So hiyo ni IgG mediated type 1. Type 2 ni cytotoxic mediated, which is bado IgG mediated. So tumesema hii inapatikana kwa blood transfusion most of the time, ABO blood groups with the RH results incompatibility. So we have preformed antibodies against preformed antigens So in a reaction, a form complex, the complex inactivates the complement system. When the complex system is activated, it will lead to the destruction of those cells. That's what napata nime-explain. So that's what unapata destruction of these cells. So nika explain kwa type 2 we have like the drug induced hemolytic anemia, where there's some individuals wakimeza antibiotics such as penicillin, cephalosporin or streptomycin zinaonekana kama antigen that they bind to RBC protein which forms a complex with the antibodies. Once they form those complexes, they lead to activation of the complement system and then leads to the destruction of those cells through lysis. And then as a result, you lead to anemia. But once you withdraw the drug, everything works on well. So type 2, tukasema ni immune complex mediated. We've said that the antigen antibody complexes, they form deposits in various tissues, and then as a result, it will lead to inflammation, which will lead to influx of neutrophils. Tukapeana examples hapo, the rheumatoid arthritis, SLE, and then hii jina yenye imeshinda kupronounce. Haya, and then type 4 ndo tumetoka hapo, it's cell-mediated hypersensitivity reaction. We're saying that the sensitized T helper cell in release cytokines, which then activates the macrophage, and then the macrophages will lead to cellular damage. Example ni tumesema ni the disc graft rejection, tuberculosis, contact dermatitis. So I think that will be the end of hypersensitivity reactions. In case of any question, any addition, you're free to changia. Leting, unanicheka? Yeah.
Just to add on something on type 2 hypersensitivity, you also have the hemolytic disease of newborn, where in the first pregnancy, the mother has, like, she produces the IgG anti-Rh antibodies, which affects the fetus in the second pregnancy.
Okay. Thank you so much for that addition. We have an addition for type 2. Let me see if there's something that we can add on also.
No.
Yes, sir.
Just kwa hapo kwa type 4, hiyo pia Steven Johnson is a type 4, because especially
nice.
senye umemention kina penicillins and such. Yeah, Steven Johnson is a type 4, so it's a delayed. That's why mtu atakwambia they've taken amoxicillin before but they were fine, but this time they took it and ndio wakaanza kuchomeka. Yeah.
So it's delayed.
Yeah.
Nice. So we have SJS. Nice. Thank you so much, ladies. So I think we can go to that short presentation of called chapter 21, transplantation immunology. So I'll give you like 1.5 minutes to relax and then we start this. Nice. So transplantation in immunology. So of course you've heard of organ donations, and the complications that comes with it. So we just go the basics because it's a very complicated topic. So we just go with the basics of transplantation immunology. So transplantation refers to the transfer of cells, tissues, or organs from one site to another. It can be the same person, same individual, or different individual, can be of the same species or different species. So there so there are different terms that we need to know so that we just do. So we have an autograft, isograft, allograft, and a xenograft. So autograft is a cell tissue transfer from one body site to another body site in the same individual. So let's say, God forbid, one gets an accident and then like you need some parts of your, some parts of your muscles, they get chopped off. So most of the time they remove muscles from or skin from the thighs to where the accident has occurred, or where the part of the body that has been affected. So autograft is a self tissue transfer from one body site to another in the same individual. So for isografts, is the tissue transferred between genetically identical individuals. So this it's for twins. So if you have a twin, it's a +1 for you, because in case of anything, they'll just go to your twin. So isograft is the transfer of tissue between genetically identical individuals. And then for allografts, allograft is transfer between genetically different members of the same species. So this is now where we come in, like we get donors, like let's say a donor, yeah, from one unit to another, yeah. So allograft is one that now we are basically used to, as long as there's some things that we'll need to meet in order to have that transplantation to happen. So xenograft is a tissue transfer between different species. So so this one you can see there's a graft of a baboon heart into a human heart. So from one species to another species is xenograft. So we have autograft, isografts, allograft, and xenograft. I'll give you like 30 seconds just to internalize that. Higher. So the other aspect we'll go into, we have we'll talk about two things: the graft rejection and graft versus host disease. And then that will be the end of this topic, because most of the things, they are so deep to talk about. So for graft rejection, our immune system that I've talked about, they are very complex. So the immune system is able to pick up our own cells, the host cells, and then they differentiate also the one with foreign, like let's say you get an organ from another person. So the immune system is able to differentiate that. So in the graft rejection, the organ tissue that has been transferred, the organ tissue that has been transferred, like from another, like from the donor, gets rejected by the host cells. So the donor organ, let's say we can use the word organ, the donor organ gets rejected by the host cells. So once you do that transplantation, the host cells will see the donor organ as a foreign object, and they'll start producing, cytotoxic T cells, which will lead to production of proteins that will further lead to the destruction of that, of those cells or tissues of that organ. So for graft rejection is you have heart, let's say an example from person A to person B, of which person B is the host. So once you take the heart from person A to person B, the host, so the host immune cells sees the heart from person A as an foreign substance. So they release mediators such as cytotoxic cells, which will further release proteins that will go and start now destroying the heart. So that's basically graft rejection in simpler language. So when we go to GVHD, graft versus host disease, I think it's somewhere that has been highlighted. So for graft versus host disease is basically the opposite of graft rejection. So in this case, so we've talked that the host is on that. For graft is the host that rejects the organ. But now for the graft versus host, it's the donor that now rejects the host cells. So basically the organ from the donor usually has the high levels of cytotoxic T cells, so it starts destroying the host cells. So it's basically the opposite of the graft. So as a recap, so that maybe if someone is confused, you've said that graft is the host that rejects the donor. For the graft versus host disease, is the donor organ that has most of the cytotoxic T cells that now affects the host cells. Yeah, I think maybe that should be clear. Also another problem with this transplantation immunology, but most of the it's not that common nowadays, it's infections. Kitambo, what used to happen is that once you transfer or you transplant these tissues, they will come with infections such as HIV, hepatitis, but nowadays there's screening and all that, so it has been minimized. So some of the ways that have been put place to minimize these three major complications: the grafts, rejection, graft versus host disease, and infections. We have a thing called tissue typing, which is tissue typing. Basically, we are able to go deeper into the molecular levels of those cells. So we use those cells to determine the major histocompatibility complex, the properties of MHC. And then now you go to the donor, you also you do also a type for that, so that to make sure that these MHC, they are compatible, because if the MHC are incompatible, then it leads to this complication. And then another thing, also use of immunosuppressants such as tacrolimus and other things. So yeah, that will be the end of this discussion for transplant immunology. Letingo, uko sawa? So yeah, that will be the end of this discussion for immunology. I think I don't know if I don't have the questions here. Gausu, kwa na hizo maswali kama tunaweza fanya 2-3 kwa pepa moja. Hata sikusikii Gausu na unajiita letinga aje. Gausu unaongea? Maureen sasa? Yeah, and then Abasi, I think we can conclude the session if there's no any other activities. So we'll the next session, Kigo will take us through some of the concepts of general pathology, and then we'll take over from there. Thank you so much for participating. So I think the last day we'll go through everything, the questions that pertains immunology and pathology. We'll do those revision questions.
Stano unanisikia sahi?
Hey.
Oh. I was suggesting because we have time today and najua hematology and clinical chem are a bit bulky. At least we can go through the immunology questions because they are not a lot and they are nini.
Uko nazo kindly kama unaweza nani? Kuna mtu anaweza
Device
share?
natumia haina hizo maswali. Maybe unaweza stop sharing. Anyone with the nini with the PDF with the questions can now share the screen.
Kindly.
Yeah, kindly. Manze. Kwanza Oto share screen.
Yes, hata nimeona alikuwa amesha video akazima.
Manze.
Niko my guys.
Hebu washa video tuone.
Nataka kuniona mmeni-miss.
Sana.
Ndio mimi huyo.
Uko shule? Uko shule kwani?
Niko kwa famasi ya beshte yangu.
Oh, heri wewe.
Yeah, inako very amani, but I'm happy to join you guys. Alafu tena mnitumie the recorded videos kindly.
Ziko kwa group utapata.
Ni forwardie, siko kwa group. Mnaweza ni-add na ile namba yangu ya 08.
Haya ni sawa, utatutext basi.
Thank you. All the best kwa PPB, nawapenda sana. Nikiona mmeandikwa madaktari na feel vizuri. Sasa tusome.
Asante. Anyone guys with the past paper kindly letting na venye umekuwa active, please share.
Letting Hiral, Professor Kigo. Kigo has graced us with his presence. Ajoiningi. Manze.
Kigo ajoin.
Msituaibishe mbele ya Kigo.
Manze, Kigo ndo ako debut leo bana.
Acha na joiningi.
Nanyi mnatumia Kigo bana.
Kigo today is the debut. Anapiga debut.
Na joiningi. Nanya nimeshindwa nikaa mbili na watch recordings.
Umeingia job Kigo?
Leo siko.
So anyone with the ama Stano to we can be waiting in 2 minutes to cook easy access you because if no one is sharing the screen.
Wacha ni login kwa WhatsApp nitafute kwa hiyo group. In the meantime,
So kesho ni hematology, then clinical chemistry.
Kigo atatuambia kesho atatupisha nini. Clinical chemistry by the way tunatumia book gani?
A clinical chem nitawatumia, kuna slides fulani Amsalu ever shared that summarizes clinical chem in a gist, because it's just those parameters, heart attack, or nini troponin will be elevated. It's those things. So
I think kesho basi nani atapitisha hematology Kigo.
Then to nini kwa clinical chem ndio tutaangalia, tuli postpone from biochem, tukasema we look at it there acid buffer system in the body, then we look at those respiratory acidosis, metabolic alkalosis, those how they compensate. Yeah.
So kesho ni hematology.
Kesho ni hematology manze. Channel the spirit of my favorite lecturer.
Aye, sawa.
Josh, unasemaje story ya nini hizi campus zingine?
Sorry?
Unasemaje story ya hizi campus zingine na discussions?
Wacha nitasikiza ule msanii anaitwa Dr. Man na ule spokesman wa jana.
But asi walisema they've finished their part. Ni kama if guys are interested, ni sasa it's for us to take the initiative.
Yes, for sure.
But on our side as USIU, where do we stand?
On our side unajua tuko a bit behind.
Tuko a bit behind. Hatuko mbele na tunaanza paper 2 next week.
But what we are doing tuko sawa. But kitu tunafaa kufanya ni at least tuangalie ma past papers.
Past papers.
Past paper tutaangalia ya mwisho.
Yes.
Tuko
nini yo? Sano muuliza kitu.
Wanarudia past paper kweli?
Wanarudia sometimes, lakini najua saa zingine wana twisting. Like for example, wakisema ukiulizwa which one of the following is not an essential, watakuuliza which of the following amino acids is non-essential.
Bana hizo zingine zinakataa kudownload sasa. Umepata?
Nice Divya.
Hi Divya, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, it's been long. Actually, you don't miss me nowadays.
I do. How are you?
Hey, do you miss me?
Of course. Why wouldn't I?
More than Gaius.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I was out for dinner. Just arrived home.
We are sorry. As the only dinner that we have been waiting for this year is the finalist dinner. Me and Gaius, we have not gone for any dinner.
Unfortunately, I won't be able to make it for that.
Divya, come on.
I already
Divya,
have...
I wanted to rock that day of viewers.
You wear it and take some nice pictures. I'll have, I'll see it.
Yes. But that's so sad actually.
Yeah, I know. Last minute plans came up.
Anyway, no problem. We can go through the paper now.
Yeah. Okay, so what percentage, blah blah blah. I'm trying to look for those questions for here we can start with this. Which of the following cells are important phagocytes that eventually become macrophages? From what
Yeah,
we've
you have highlighted monocytes.
yeah. Okay, which of the following clotting factors are okay, no, never
No, I have
mind.
not done that.
Yeah. All the following are components of innate immunity except there is monocytes, macrophages, neutrophils, T lymphocytes.
Yeah, the TB and antigen presenting cells are for adaptive immunity. So
Yeah.
it's correct. T lymphocytes is the one that is for adaptive. So that's correct.
Yeah, and then antibodies are produced by B.
Yeah, B lymphocytes, that's
But
true.
we don't know why that person got a wrong on it.
It should be B lymphocytes.
Right?
Yeah.
That is, yeah.
Okay, so IgE is mainly found in the surface of mast cells.
Yeah, that's true. The surface of mast
For
cells,
the
yeah.
allergic reactions.
Yeah.
Pentama is the 5 point on the M.
IgM.
Yeah, IgM.
Yeah.
Okay, then a complement system is involved in opsonizing and lysing organism.
Also, I think in the notes, the complement system, they have 4 biological properties. Maybe they'll nani the question. It has also cell lysis, inflammation, opsonization, and then clearance of immune complexes.
Okay.
On the let me share these guidelines of the vaccines on the group so that because I don't think we look at it anywhere else.
Hey, Devious, you'll share with this the that you have highlighted the answers.
Yeah,
Man
that's
said
fine.
Divya, man.
Hey, Divya, I think that's why we really like you. So, Divya, tell me that you're not going to see each other at the graduation.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yep.
Stop breaking our hearts.
She's not breaking mine.
I'm not breaking yours, guys. Are you sure?
Yeah, me and Divya are breaking it into pieces. So we can.
Yeah, we can move. So complement system, you guys agree it's involved in opsonizing and
that one. Yeah, it's according to the 4 biological properties, it takes A.
Yeah, and then an example of type 3 hypersensitivity is serum sickness. Type 4 is mediated by T cells.
Type 3.
Type 3, yeah.
Wait a minute.
Across Graves types 2, allergic type 1, rheumatic heart disease.
Yeah,
rheumatic is type 2. Oh yeah, because of the M protein. It's type 2. Because it's on the surface, yeah.
Okay. The next one is type 4 hypersensitivity reaction is mediated
that one
by
is T cell.
Yeah.
T cell, yeah.
Yeah, that one is T cell.
Okay, the role of CD4 cells in the body is to stimulate both antibody and cell-mediated
Yeah,
immunity.
yeah, both.
And
Yeah.
all the following are autoimmune diseases except, I know we haven't done it in immuno yet, but we can always answer it.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
one is straightforward.
Okay, so the next one.
Did we see these questions when we were looking at microbiology? Some of them, because
Oh, you guys didn't go through microbe questions?
no, I know we did. It's because I've just seen a few. Okay.
Weflas ni gani gausi?
Sijui Weflas, but out of elimination, it's that one. Yeah. Then Leishmania, Donovani. Okay. Sawa. By maybe the next week, we can dedicate next week to look at all paper ones that we have before we start paper 2.
Let me ask, are you guys using Naplex to study? Are you guys using Naplex, or are you using these papers that were sent by Shrina?
Okay. Naplex, majorly Naplex covers paper 2, majorly. That's why we will use Naplex, because it's mostly the pharmaceutical sciences.
Okay.
Yeah. But paper 1, Naplex is not really, doesn't have.
Okay. So we move?
We move regardless.
Okay. Done.
Divya, you'll share with me this one kindly.
Yeah, no problem.
With me too, kindly.
Number 66, Divya, I have not answered.
Honestly, we were arguing, but I don't know what answer we settled on.
Sources required in DNA. Sources of nucleic acid.
I was thinking bacteria, because you use bacteria to grow the nucleoid and the plasmids, but I don't know if I was right, so I don't know.
ChatGPT said human blood, because typically it's
because
not
human blood
used.
mnatumia. Nice. Hey, Divya, you are so technological.
Oh, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Christian, just 1 minute, please. I wanted to ask this one, the partition coefficient of a solute. I know it's not immuno, but if I plug it, I know it's not immuno, but I don't know. Can you guys help me answer this?
It's the same for us, irrespective of the solvents. Okay, that's a lie. Then applies in same way for dilute and concentrated solutions. Then applies on the solute is... Okay, I'd also go with B, varies with temperature.
And that makes sense.
Okay, and then number 74.
This one is, we'll see it in pharmaceutics. It's in pharmaceutics somewhere, this French name. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I wasn't sure. So we move. Okay, this is all anatomy. I feel like these guys usually ask a lot of anatomy questions.
But it's basic anatomy. It's not the one, not deep.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm just saying it.
Number 26.
Which one of the following cells is responsible for synthesis of collagen? Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. And we'll also we'll also look at this the basic anatomy even when we are looking at physiology.
Okay.
Yeah.
This people walikuwa wamejaza hiyo physio.
Hmm.
It should be, yeah, there,
Hebu
here they
umeona
are
distance
again.
mahali?
Yeah, zinafanananga tu na micro.
Antibodies
So that's
produced
distance.
by B cells. Yeah,
Mm.
sorry.
B
Okay,
cells,
and
yeah.
then opsonization is enhanced by which one of the following complement components?
Yeah, C3b.
Okay, which one of the following is a specific autoimmune disease?
Yeah, Hashimoto, yeah.
Yeah, and then that will
I
cover
think
in
kuna
hema.
slides nafaa.
Okay.
I think take home message is also, yeah, like today on your own time, just go through the complement system.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
So
the
that,
complete system.
this is paper 2, I think. Yeah. Here, okay, we can.
the
Okay.
good thing, Divya, is that your index number is after mine, so we'll be sitting together.
Yeah, I hope we'll be able to.
Divya, hebu that
Stanley
for the
will be
concentration,
index
less concentration.
Pardon, what?
I just number, I think down number like 19 there.
Yeah,
16,
I think the one with the
16.
less concentration is IgE.
IgE. It's not IgD.
Ama Gauss-Lon.
Okay, I'm not sure, but I'd guess IgD because I had its
It's
functions had not been clearly in need. I'd also go with IgD, but Ebu, just confirm.
Let's
Juu kwa notes nani alisema ni lowest concentration in IgE, but let me go to the book ni confirm pia.
In the blood, yeah, in the serum.
IgE.
Oops. IgG is the most.
IgG is it's very abundant.
Here.
Immunoglobulin. IgD is with the malaria is very in
Major amount.
Okay.
Lacking in quantity or quality. That's what major means. Yeah.
What if I would just search for us even to be sure?
Ni
IgD.
Yeah, present na D, yeah.
Oh, pia umeconfirm from your side.
Yeah, kwa textbook. Nani alikuwa
Okay.
amesema ni E.
All right, and then which of the following cells is not phagocytic in nature? Microglial.
Yeah.
Okay. Which one of the following statements are true about rheumatic fever? You guys want to do this?
Yeah. See.
Rheumatic heart fever disease.
Yeah, but A is a complication.
Yeah, okay. Which type of cell is involved in the initial presentation of antigen T lymphocytes?
Yeah, the dendritic antigen presenting cell. Yeah.
Which one of the following types of cells produces IgE? Plasma cells?
Yeah, plasma cells, because it's an antibody, yeah.
Yeah, and then
there are mast cells can confuse you there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Kwanza it's A. You're like, IgE mast cells. Hey.
Type 1 hypersensitivity clinically involves which one of the following? IgE from the diagram stand short.
Yeah.
Protective effects of breast milk are not associated with
Mast cells, yeah.
And then, yeah. Okay, this
Yes.
it's more. You
Ah,
say?
no. It's just I'm seeing a trend that they ask those immunology questions, mostly antibodies, and then they ask one question about vaccines. So make sure you know what types of, especially the ones we use locally.
Attenuated na inatiza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the kina polio, BCG, DPT, all of those, and the time of administration.
It's the one you've sent, yes, on the group.
Yeah, they're all there. The guy, even time and all of those things.
Okay, thank you. So
I sent to Stanley, but he refused to share with you guys. I don't know why.
And you?
Okay.
Immunization guidelines.
You have never sent.
I sent to your email.
Lydia.
Yeah. Don't worry, after
Hey,
this I've not answered.
But this is so you guys are saying next week we just go through paper 1.
Yeah, that's okay.
Then we start paper 2 the other week. Good people. Letting bado unajiongelesha kwa group chat.
Letting mbona hutaki ku unmute?
I'm trying to find those questions.
Uongo, kwenda huko.
See, we'll anyway do paper 1 next week, so then we can like not do any questions right now.
Well, if you guys are tired, you can just leave. I mean, most prevalent immunoglobulin in body secretions is?
Maybe I'd go also with IgA because that's what Stanley told us.
Yeah, and then blood components responsible for eradicating. Okay, that's leukocytes.
Yeah. That's
Okay, so there was only one question on immuno here. Looks like it.
Mbona leukocyte man?
But this
so
is
there we are in body secretions. It's IgA. You agree, Stano? You're the expert.
I'm not the expert.
Yeah.
IgA ndo IgA ndo iko na nani?
most in body secretions, yes?
Yes.
I think so too. And then,
Me too.
I guess that paper just had
Spider-Man.
one question.
Hey.
Tulikuwa tumepitia maswali za parasitology.
Yeah.
Hatukupitia. Tutapia next week yote we'll be going through paper 1.
Next yote hakuna kulala.
Yeah, so we'll be doing okay for the topics we've covered. For example, kitu kama malaria tulicover. Tukiona swali ya malaria we answer, we move. Tukiona kitu kama leishmania we didn't cover. We say a few things about leishmania like that.
Oh wait, you guys didn't cover parasitology on Thursday?
Nah. On Thursday,
We're waiting for you, Davia, imagine.
Yeah, we were waiting for you and you didn't join. So it said there'd be no discussion without Divya.
How can we have a discussion without Divya? Is it even possible?
It's possible, very much possible. Let me ask.
Never.
So
Can
in
never
viruses,
be under my watch, Divya.
Eh? In viruses, where exactly did you guys stop? Here.
In viruses.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, but we can answer these ones.
No, it's a repeat.
This one we've answered. I'm seeing it's the same questions.
Yeah.
We've answered.
So
this is the same paper.
Yeah, it's the same paper. So you're saying in viruses?
Just a second, let me pick this.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, you can pick it. Even do you want to pick it?
No. No. Okay, we all said apoptosis is programmed cell death. And then all the following are antigen presenting cells for helper T lymphocytes except neutrophils. Right?
Divya. What were you saying?
I was asking about the viruses. What topics you covered under viruses? I missed the entire discussion for it.
Okay, we noticed they like number. Okay, we covered the basics. What's a virus, the growth cycle of a virus, structures and replication. And then we measured on HIV, the herpes viridae, because they question herpes viridae a lot, and hepatitis.
Okay.
Just those, those are the ones we measured on.
At hepatitis.
Dr. Stogiloid.
Hepatitis. Hepatitis test.
Hepatitis virus.
Well, let's get your virus.
Hepatitis A, B, C, D, E.
Okay. All the following are APC for helper T lymphocytes except dendritic T for macrophages and neutrophils.
See, Fago, neutrophils, because they are there are only 3 antigen presenting cells, the ones listed, the dendritic, the B lymphocytes, and the macrophages. Those are the only 3 antigen presenting cells. And among them, dendritic is the best. It's the professional one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gasebo dendritic ni nini?
It's the most let's say efficient, or it's among the 3. Dendritic does nini is the best.
Okay. And then the second one is the most immunogenic molecules are.
They are proteins.
Dash is the most abundant immunoglobulin in the human body.
It's IgG.
IgM.
Yeah.
Innate immune system consists of neutrophils and macrophages, B and T lymphocytes, IgD and G, complement system, and IgE.
A. Neutrophils and macrophages.
Cytokines don't participate in immunological responses, are responsible for induction of erythropoiesis, produced by T cells, and occur in one form only.
You're good, Livia. Produced by wait. No, T cells, okay. Don't see even kina macrophage. Occur only in one form, responsible, do not protect. Oh, okay, by elimination. Oh, I thought it
Ukienda na hii
had
hiyo
written
niko sawa.
T cells only.
Okay,
Yeah.
so mediators of type 1 hypersensitivity is IgE, that's a repeat. Type 3 hypersensitivity reaction examples are one of these three.
Basi mlikuwa mnacheka kusoma
Yeah.
hiyo jina, kumbe iko hapa.
That name is simple. Glomerulonephritis.
Not Comelu.
Netinga kwa hapa alikuwa ananicheka.
Natural killer cells secrete interferon gamma. That's gamma.
Yeah.
Antibodies
So,
are
yeah.
produced. Sorry. So yeah. Continue.
Yeah. So for this one, let me display just something just for a second regarding the natural killer cells, because Stano had mentioned it, but it wasn't explained.
True.
Just a second. The part of whereby if one of your cell is infected by, let's say in rhinovirus, the common cold, that cell tells the other cell that there's an infection going around, stay safe. Yeah, and this interferon really plays a huge role. Here it is. Let me display.
So you said interferon plays a role in
viral infections. Viral infections. I saw that question somewhere. I'm not, I don't remember where, but I saw that question somewhere.
Okay.
I'm not finding the diagram. I just wanted to use the diagram.
Okay. I like the way you've renamed yourself Letting.
Nah, it's Letting renaming herself to Spider-Man so that she doesn't look crazy. So I have to rename.
Okay.
What I'll send the image to the group. The image is really self-explanatory because I'm not Nene and time is moving. I'll send it to the group immediately. And then I found it.
Okay, you can you found it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, do I share?
You can just share on the screen, explain, and then you can also send it to the group. If that's
okay.
with you. Yeah.
Share screen is the option. Share. Okay. Can you see my screen?
No, yeah.
You're seeing the Zoom thing, right?
Yeah.
And now?
Hey girls, kumbe unatumia Apple ban.
Ish, we are sorry.
This one, my neighbor is crying right now. Anyway, yeah. Here. Yeah, physiology, the one I sent. Yeah. So for example, picture this as you getting the common cold, rhinovirus. So, okay, pointer, but let me use it. So this is the first cell being infected, right? This is the first cell being infected. It gets infected, the virus replicates, but once the virus starts replicating, the cell releases interferon. This interferon will go bind the receptor on a cell that hasn't been invaded. For example, this healthy cell, where is it? Yeah, this healthy cell. You can see here's the interferon, the yellow molecule, displayed. So this interferon goes to now this healthy cell has not been it binds to the receptor, and once it binds, it makes sure that if the rhinovirus does get in, it will be contained. It won't be able to replicate. So the interferon will bind to this uninfected cell. Then once the virus reaches the cell, the cell will already have been told rhinovirus is coming, do something. So the cell will inhibit the virus from replicating. So, so that was how one cell was informing another cell to avoid a viral infection, use of interferon. But also the natural killer cells, they also utilize this interferon when they are attacking the virus infected cells. Yeah. So I just wanted to display that because I've seen it being asked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. You guys want to stop or you want to continue?
Is this the passive
Immunity. Short-lived.
Well, there's passive and the other one is called active.
Active.
Yeah. See, the active is the one that is short-lived.
No, active is long-lived.
Yeah, active is the long-lived. Sorry, guy. Yeah.
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 Right. Okay. So you guys want to stop here because I'm seeing all those questions. Okay. Universal blood donor is with blood group is O.
Yeah.
And then hemolytic disease of the newborn is erythroblastoma vitalis.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that was the last question of immuno on this paper.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't see any other. Some of the questions are a little, they're not clear. We know hemophilia A is 8 and hemophilia B is 9 factor. Always remember.
Which one is Christmas? Christmas, is it A or B?
Huh? Do I know that? No, I don't know that.
Okay. One of the hemophilia is called, another name for it is Christmas disease. I don't know if it's A or B.
Let's just search it. Christmas disease, yeah?
Yeah. Hemophilia B. Hemophilia B. And B, you've said it's 9. A is 8.
Yeah. Okay.
This is why we don't discuss without you.
You have seen the way Divya are so resourceful.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I don't know what these stars are for, by the way. But I'm saying this paper has the answers highlighted already. And they seem to be right. So, okay, here. Which of the following is responsible for adaptive immunity?
B lymphocytes.
And then
type 1, we've seen this again. Antibodies, we've seen this.
Yeah,
Of the mucosa, That is IgA. Autoimmune.
Yeah,
So
it
that.
says.
Yeah.
Because type 2 diabetes is lifestyle associated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First line defense in the body. Yeah, phagocytes.
Yeah.
Type 4 in all the following except, as we said, serum disease is type 3.
Oops. IgE antibodies, we said only one type can pass the placenta.
Yeah, the placental barrier, IgG. Yeah, nice.
IgG, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, can you go to number 45 just for a second? Crohn's is type 4. Maybe Stano can confirm. IBD is what type?
IBD.
Type 3. I'm type 4. Wait, type 4 is except. Then Crohn's is type 4, yeah.
IBD
From
type
the question.
4.
IBD type 4. Okay. IBD not tuberculosis. Nice.
All right. And then deficiency of complement system, CQ enhances. Is that, CQ enhances susceptibility into infections caused by, no idea.
So complement on your own time, just look at complement.
Yeah. And then which of the following is not a toxoid? Tetanus is, diphtheria is, cholera. Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so
For cholera is the toxin that causes so meningitis.
Okay, following form part of innate except interferon gamma.
For this one, let me ask, cause part of the innate immunity except sawa, I've seen. Okay, we can go on. Yeah, I've seen.
Yeah. And then biochem. What is this? Pharmaceutical dispensing. I think this has paper 1 and paper 2 combined.
I've seen kina IGM somewhere.
Where in this one?
Yeah, just go up. I've seen IGM somewhere. I saw my own thing.
It's okay, we can just check.
Let's see. Somewhere here. Let's see.
Are you talking about this one?
Let's say yes, so that you don't think I'm crazy.
If it's not, it's fine. You can.
This one. Yeah, this one. You guys, you're gaslighting me.
Okay, so I think this is a repeat of one of the papers we've just done a few minutes ago.
Yeah, it's a repeat.
Yeah, so neutrophils, proteins, most abundant is IgG, innate is neutrophil and macrophages, cytokines produced by T cells, type 1 is, we say this is also glomerulonephritis. Yeah, I guess this is just a repeat of the paper that was printed badly, rather taken pictures of badly. So I guess we can stop here, or what do you guys think?
Yes, Dr. Tour.
Yeah,
we can stop here so that Kigo can sleep,
Divya
so
Tour
that
Kumar.
tomorrow he can come fresh to teach us about the likes of thalassemias.
Beta thalassemia.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the heme synthesis.
Oh, kumbe uko
That's
around Kutunyi.
highlighted.
Hatuwezi enda mahali daktari.
Na beshte yako chai alienda kulala, unajua ni mzee sana.
Sahii sijui hata tusemeaje.
Divya, thank you so much for sharing and taking us through the questions.
You're welcome, Stan.
Yes,
Yeah, we
thank you,
appreciate
Dr.
that
Tour.
on behalf of everyone.
You're welcome. Good night.
Good night.
Good
Yeah.
night. I hope
you
that
want me
goodness
to-
is only mine, Divya.
Okay.
Yeah, the rest can go and get their goodness from other people.
Marcy, let me log in again. Yeah. All right. Yes, Stan, the good night was for you.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. You guys can go. I'm just confirming one answer with what's her name?
Letting.
Yes.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Kigo.
So Mercy, which question were you talking about? Is she here?
Maybe she's texting.
Oh, okay. The last one I highlighted.
13.
The last one I highlighted.
Which question? Divya anauliza which question yenye ame highlighted wrong?
This is the one I highlighted last.
Yeah, interferon. Msema the one for interferon.
This one, secret INF.
No, not that one. Hey, 18. Ama the one texting might be Gaius.
No, I think that's Mercy. Where is that interferon question? I haven't gone past that, so it should be above. Mercy, if you see it, please let me know when to stop. It was about the innate, okay. Is it this one?
Okay. Yes.
The following form part of innate immunity except, which one would you go with then? C, complement systems.
The following are part of the innate. Yeah. Why did you guys choose B?
Okay, personally, I choose B because it's part of the adaptive immunity, isn't it? Interferon gamma, NK, T cells, B cells. I don't know. That was my. I thought that, but could be wrong. Stan, what do you think?
Cells of the innate immunity. So what kindly repeat the one for why you've gone with the interferon gamma?
Isn't it part of the adaptive immunity?
No, it's part of the innate.
Interferon gamma?
No, natural killer cells. You said interferon gamma is part of natural killer cells.
As in, like, they usually see natural killer cells usually produce these iron, IFN, and all these things. Ama?
And yeah, natural killer cells are part of the innate immunity.
So, okay. So this could be C then.
So I would go with B. No, C, I mean.
C.
But then let me take a pick of this question. Yeah. Complement. I think there's a question that you have answered above Huko that we said complement system is part of the adaptive.
Yeah.
I think there's a question you've answered like that, but we'll confirm.
Okay.
I've taken a pick. Yes,
Okay,
I've
fine.
taken a pick and then we'll confirm.
For complement, according to the physiology textbook, it's part of the innate, not adaptive.
Okay. I thought complement ni part of the adaptive, but I'll confirm.
Kwa book, let me just send a photo right now. Imekuwa listed as part of innate immunity. Let me just send this photo.
Chapter 1. Merit to.
Send the photo. Because for number 49, what are we thinking?
Okay, so apparently, according to Google, it says IFN gamma has diverse functions that are involved in both innate and adaptive immunity and host defense. Yeah, that's what Google is giving me. So I don't know. Following.
What about interferon alpha?
Interferon alpha.
Yeah, what do we know about interferon alpha?
So interferon alpha is a 1 minute obtained from leukocyte fraction of human blood. What the hell? It's giving me something else. Okay, so interferon alpha is a cytokine produced by the innate immune system in response to environmental exposures, including viral infections. The alpha interferon in various formulations has been developed as therapy of several forms of cancer and viral infections, but its major use has been a therapy of chronic hepatitis C.
Also they've said it's part of the innate. They've confirmed it's part of the innate.
Yeah.
So okay. So the complement is also a microbicidal proteins.
Isn't that part also of innate?
Yeah, I'm also thinking the same. I've sent the picture to the group from the book that says Nini is part of innate. Actually, yeah, even Okay, according to the textbook, it plays, okay, this textbook, the answer here would be microbicidal proteins.
Answer would be micros. Okay.
Yeah,
We
because
haven't received the picture yet.
and the tick has just gone. Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, because it
Huko
said
umetuma.
parts of the innate is the inflammation, interferons, natural killer cells, and the complement system. So that would just leave microbicidal proteins as the answer.
Makes sense. Yeah. Okay, then. I guess that's settled. Letting, are you okay?
Letting, are you okay?
She says
Letting
yes.
is not okay.
She says thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. We'll meet tomorrow.
She says she'll buy you all supper because of staying this long to answer her question.
Thank you.
Tomorrow, bright and early.
Early, yeah. All right. See you guys.
Thank
Good
you so
night.
much, ladies. Good night.
And then for next week,
Anyway,
because
good
we'll
night.
be
See you, guys.
discussing.
The good night from Divi is only mine.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Next week, because we'll be discussing the entire one, like in terms of questions purely. Hey, Aki, we'll need to have numbers and people will have to be active.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, Divya, don't miss. You make people active.
Really? I don't miss.
Kindly, Divya, it's a humble request.
Yeah. I'll send you. Don't worry.
No, like you don't miss the discussion.
Oh, yeah, I won't. Don't worry. Yeah. All right.
Have a good night.
Next
tomorrow.
week, what dates?
I think we can. Good. We'll know. We'll discuss on the group and agree.
Okay, fine. That's okay.
Yeah.
All right then. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.